Hey everybody, welcome to Art Recycle. Today we're going to do some art using numbers, and guess what numbers we're going to use? 6, 7. If you can't beat them, join them, right? So this is a project on Charles Demuth, and Charles Demuth was an artist who was part of the Precisionism movement. This movement started after World War I, and it focused on the themes of industrialization. Often it showed geometric shapes, different types of lighting that kind of mirrored modernization or industrialization. So we're going to use these numbers today to kind of highlight warm versus cool colors and contrast with color versus black and white. So to get started, what you're going to need is you're going to need a white piece of paper, preferably a thick black marker, but it can be any black drawing tool, and then whatever you want to color your numbers in with. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, so I have my white paper here. I'm going to start with pencil. I'm going to use my black tool later. What I have is a black Sharpie marker. You could use black crayon, black color pencil, whatever it is that you got. I'm going to start up here in the upper left. I'm almost all the way to the left-hand corner, left-hand side. I'm going to draw a line that kind of goes down like that. And then I'm going to touch the top of that line, and I like to give my numbers a little bit of a flare. I'm going to swoop over almost all the way to the right. And then this is going to start off my number 7. So I'm going to come back over here, and I'm only going to go about halfway across. So this was the center, right? You could even kind of mark it and just say, I'm going to go halfway across there. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to shoot this down, but I'm going to only shoot it to about the middle of the page. So this is going to start my 7 off on the right-hand side. I'm going to shoot to the middle and then stop, and you're going to see why you're going to want to kind of stop there. I'm then going to jump back over here, and I'm going to draw this parallel to the line I just drew. So this is parallel, and this is pretty much parallel. So I'm drawing a block number 7, right? It's not like a stick letter. And I'm going to continue this line, and it's going to swoop back up and touch right there. So I'm going to swoop down, come back, and it's going to touch there. And if you need to adjust it, you can bring this down a little bit more, right? So you can see the 7 here, and then this will go into the 6, right? So now I'm going to kind of divide that 6 up. I want it to look like 2 separate numbers, but they kind of meet a little bit in the middle. I'm going to take this line and I'm going to continue it down like that. And then I'm going to touch here where the 7 and 6 start to turn. And I'm going to kind of swoop it up like that. So now you can see this is my number 7. And this is my swoopy number 6, right? I can make an oval here for the open part of the 6. Now you can change this a little bit if you want, right? But we have our 7 going into our 6 just like that. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to outline it all with my black tool. Now, I like, before I color, to kind of make the outside edge of this really bold. So, you know, you can take your pencil and just kind of make like a thicker line there and then color it in like you see me doing here. Because I have a thick black marker, I'm just going to go over this a couple of times and make the outline just a little bit bolder. All right, so now that has a nice black bold outline to it. Notice I didn't do it here, right? So now what I'm going to do is, while I've got my black tool, I'm going to do a design of 6 7s around the 6 7. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to touch my black outline, and let's say I draw a big 6 here. And again, this is why I like having a black tool with kind of a thicker edge. I can kind of just go over this a couple of times and make that a little thicker. Now I can turn my paper, and then let's say here I make a number 7. I'm going to touch the edge of my paper and go down. Now the rule that I kind of have when I do this with my students is, when you do your 6 and 7s here in the background, you would start by either touching a number you already did. So I'm going to touch my number 6 here, and maybe I'll come down and do another 6. I either have to touch another line or go all the way to the edge of the paper, you see? And so that way I'm kind of making these individual, more geometric, some organic shapes here between the numbers. I'm kind of breaking up the space because I'm always touching another line or I'm touching the edge of the paper. So now maybe I do a bunch of 6s in a row. If it's a really small space like this, maybe I just do a curved line and just break it up like that. All right, now I like doing all the black and white first because it just makes it a little bit easier when kids color this in to see this shape clearly. Maybe in this one, I'm just going to color this one in black. This is the oval that was in the 6, just so that I know, when I'm coloring it, that wouldn't get a color. So now I'm going to go use oil pastels. You can use markers, colored pencils, whatever you want. And we're going to talk about warm and cool colors. All right, warm colors are fire colors. Think red, orange, yellow, right? Pink can also be warm because it's got red in it, red plus white, right? Cool colors are the colors you would think of for ice, blues, greens, and violets. And I know we don't necessarily think of greens as an ice color, but it's still part of the cool color family. So now I'm going to pick for the part of my 7, maybe I use only warm colors. Now this is the only part of the 7, this is part of the 6, and this part in here is shared between the two numbers. So in here I can use warm and cool, and here I'm going to use warm, and here I'm going to use cool. Or you could reverse it, do cool here and do warm here, and then do both here. So I'm going to use oil pastels today. I like oil pastels because they can kind of smear with each other. But again, you can use whatever medium you want. All right, now this part of my 7 and 6 is shared, right? So now my rule is that I can use warm and cools in this, but I want to be careful because I don't want to put a big chunk of blue here next to a big chunk of blue here, or a big chunk of orange here next to a big chunk of orange here. So I am going to kind of plan out my warm and cools a little bit. So maybe I'll do yellow here because you see I don't have yellow on the two sides here, and then I would go from there. All right, there we go. There is my finished 6-7 design. I hope you enjoyed this lesson on warm and cool colors, Charles Demuth, and Precisionism on Art Recycled. I will see you next time. Bye.